just let that breath continue to move through us. I've gotten to the point where no matter what I'm watching, no matter who says it, take a breath. It could be like in a TV show. Just calm down and take a breath. Here I'm sitting there going, I can't help myself. It just comes out of me. Anybody had that experience? Hello? You know, I was looking at the calendar and I realized that this November, that's just next month, I don't know how we almost got there, will be 19 years since I moved here to start Unity in Naperville. Yeah. And you know, one of the things that I noticed about the Naperville area and the Chicago suburbs over here on this side was that it was pretty mild, you know, not a lot going on. Kind of similar to my last 20 years in Walnut Creek, California, outside of San Francisco. And then in the last year or so, it just seems to have ramped up to where there's just a bit of a climate of fear going on. And maybe it just depends on, you know, what your life experience is. Maybe you don't notice it at all, but it just seems like there's more crime in the news locally. And it's everything from shootings and killings to, you know, burglaries and carjackings. And that escalation, obviously, it's in the major international news when we look at the wars that are going on, which seem to have, they're always just about to end, but then they're back up on again, never ending, it seems. And also, now we have conflict between the federal governments and the state governments. Yikes, yikes. So, I don't know if that's got your attention, but oftentimes, just for human beings, the fear about our own personal life can be predominant. You know, if it's the diagnosis we got from the doctor, the status of our bank account, you know, the state of our family. It's very easy for us to wake up in the middle of the night and find one thing at least to worry about, yes? And it's gotten to the point now where people are calling it the end times. Now, I have to admit, you know, I remember that in the 80s and the 90s and the 2000s. There's always a reason for it to be the end times. Have you heard that, though, at all? I think that, I'm guessing because we're all here, we missed the rapture last week. So we'll have to find a back door. Sorry. Okay. Hey, listen. No, I won't go there. I made some major life decisions at one point. Give me a break, I was 18, but my decisions were based on the fact that Jesus was coming back tomorrow, and so I gave up on a lot of things in my life. So I totally get, for those of us who follow that path, that can be a very serious thing. And, you know, human beings in general do a pretty good job with fear and drama, you know, that we just kind of feed on it. The ego is trying to protect, but it also kind of feeds on it. You got to say, when you see that we can't go without a season without some kind of horror movie or something at the theaters. Nowadays, just looking on YouTube and trying to find a podcast that's spiritually related, I got to read these to you. They have these little, what do they call them, like thumbnail pictures of what their podcast is about. So here's some that I ran into. 3 days of darkness, then the Flash. I want to watch that, don't you? Okay. Brace for the next major event. The council's urgent wake-up call. More war is coming. This is the end of Earth School as we know it. Yikes. Yikes. So it's, having come from the news industry, worked in broadcasting for many years, I knew that you put up headlines like that because you wanted what? Viewers. And why do we want viewers? So we can sell advertising and the company can make more money. But at the same time, for those of us being unaware of how that works, we just look at it and call it's a season of darkness. A season of darkness. And it may feel that way lately, almost, but some almost like turn it into a personality of darkness. You know, the evil, the power of evil, the devil. So this just a little bit of instruction, especially for those of you who are newer to unity, is that we stopped giving a personality to God as a man, a being man, spirit being man on a throne. Although if you do look in the Old Testament, you see God having dinner with Abraham, which was pretty humanistic, right? Anthropomorphic, that's hard to say, anthropomorphic. That we saw God's backside as he went around the corner. They made him very manly and gave him a lot of, human emotions, anger, sadness, feeling betrayed. Those all sound like the ego, don't they? Yeah, so it's very common for that to show up. I won't go into the whole history of who wrote the Bible and why. But just know that from Unity's point of view, that presence that we call God is everywhere, all that it is not a single being separate from us, but in the very essence of our bodies, our minds, our spirits, and all that we can see, every part of the universe and beyond, is the Spirit of God expressing his life and love and substance and intelligence. There is an intelligence, a supreme intelligence, that is holding this whole universe within it. And so it's not something that we're separate from, or sometimes we might hear others give God the personality of a vengeful God, yes, or one that gives preferential treatment to some but not to others. So when we're sitting here in unity, that's not how we're seeing God. We're seeing it as this allness of life. And we don't look at a spirit of evil. We don't give an evil experience as based on the power of that thing with a tail and horns and a pitchfork, okay? So what I want us to consider today is how to experience darkness without giving it power, and how to move out of the darkness as easily as we can. So there was quite a task that our co-founder, Charles Fillmore, gave us up here on the screen. He said, we should establish ourselves firmly in the understanding of the total unreality of evil. Dominion over all that is called evil comes not by considering it a great power that we overcome by mighty conflict, but by robbing it of its seeming power. How? By our understanding of the allness of spirit. You shall know the truth, and the truth shall make you free. So that's a big one. Let's look at that for just a minute. When we feel like we're in a power or a presence, a control of some kind of evil, take a moment and remind yourself there is only God. God is the only power working in my life. What's the reason that we say that every week? To remind ourselves of that. One presence, one power. Its nature is good. And the way that Myrtle Fillmore, our other co-founder, puts it is that when we experience someone, let's just say we experience what we might call evil in the world, she would say it's a misuse of the one power. It's not a power, it's not a personality, it's a misuse of the one power, which we all have the ability to do because we all have free will. And it's time for us to recognize that when we use the word evil, we may be, I'm not saying that there are not evil acts in the world, but notice when I say evil acts, evil is an adjective or an adverb. Think of it that way, rather than a singular power. And that choice by any one of us at any time comes from our state of consciousness. So we get focused on the news, and we give all of our attention to, with our sense consciousness, which is those 5 physical senses, we interpret it in such a way that that is a power out there working against us. And all the while, we're being ignorant of our true spirit. So just notice those moments when you're finding yourself pushing back against a thing, fearing it because it appears to have power to take your good from you, and realize what is my true essence? What is the one essence? How many times do we actually do that? When we find ourselves caught up in the negativity of the world around us that looks like darkness, and we give it power, we can literally feel it taking our higher power and bringing us in a lower state of being, a lower energy. Do you know what that feels like? Okay. Sometimes even your heart beats faster. But all the while, when you are witnessing what you call darkness, remember, it has no power and there is no purpose behind that thing that we think. It's not even a thing, that's the point. It's a state of consciousness. It's the result of choices. So how often do we look at what's happening and use our conscious thinking to decide that that can take my good from me? And when that happens, that's when fear sets in. That's when the book of Job, which we may or may not have read, truly the thing that I fear comes upon me, what I dread befalls me. He basically lost everything. And he said it right there. Why? Because he was focused on losing this. I told you this was going to happen. How many times have we said that? Yeah. So today I want us to review the process of how we get to fear so that we can see it when it's happening and give it a new direction. Are you up for that? Start from the premise that whatever it is that seems to have caused our fear, whether it's a person or an experience, we don't have the opportunity to, well, you can, but I'm telling you there's no point in blaming it for our fear. No one else is responsible for what we think. Do you understand that? Do you understand that? It's hard to swallow. And it may be a catalyst. A person or a situation may be a catalyst for the beginning of fear in our being, but we can't blame it on that thing or that person because fear begins in the mind. And you're in charge of that part of you, right? So we're going to look up here on the screen, and I'm going to go through a list of the process of how this works. After the essence or the catalyst, the person, whatever shows up in our life, when a thought comes up in you, that's the first step. The thought comes up in you that says something to fear. And once you hold that thought in mind long enough, it attracts another thought of like kind, and then another thought, and then another thought. And then from that collection of thoughts, it begins to generate a solid thought form that becomes a belief, where now the belief is probably dropping down into us and bringing with it a feeling. And when the feeling shows up, the subconscious goes, bing, it's my turn to take over. Because remember, the subconscious is our builder. It's the one that turns things into manifest experiences in life. So it's taking your thoughts and your beliefs and your feelings, and it's beginning to put it into a way that we can really experience it. And usually one of the first ways that it does that is with our words. We start talking about what it is that we fear. We start predicting the future. Remember that fear is usually about something that hasn't happened. Isn't that wild? That we get all worked up about something that hasn't even happened yet. It's just a prediction. And so we use our words to keep predicting what it's going to look like, what's going to happen next, how I'm going to lose out. And then the next thing that happens after words is we start actually doing, we start acting in a way that represents those words and feelings and beliefs, making decisions, and sometimes making decisions not to act because we're afraid. That's pretty common as well. And then at some point, when you're thinking and feeling and believing and speaking and acting, you're basically becoming that fear. And I mean that from an energetic standpoint. You know what fear feels like in your body. I know you do, right? Yeah, that just is an example of what it means to become that thought, feeling, belief, fear. You feel it in your body. And if you can feel it, and your body is really just energy, it's not matter, it's energy, and the entire universe is energy, and there's nothing to separate you and the rest of the universe. Now your energy is being broadcast out to the universe, and the way that the inherent divine law works is It notices what your little glob of energy is, and it starts to bring you more and more and more of like kind. So we start to see actual representations of what we feared. That which I fear has come upon me. And that's attracting the results. So the law is working all the time, and how it's working is depending on what we're sending out to the universe. So let's just see if we can put an example together of this. Let's start with tomorrow. Some of you still in the workforce, you might go into the place that you work and it's lunchtime and you're sitting down with your coworkers and one of them leans over to you and says, "Have you heard the latest?" "No, what?" "There's going to be layoffs before the end of the year." Ding! How do you know that? It's what they say. So you have a thought about that. A thought might be, what if I get laid off? What if I lose my job? What if I can't pay my rent? What if we have to move out of our apartment? What if we wind up on the street? What if my family leaves me? So these thoughts start attracting more thoughts of like kind, and then the thought comes in, you know what? My boss never liked me. I can just see he's going to pick me to lay off. Of course, he's going to pick me to lay off. So you've thought enough thoughts about what could happen to you, and now you're starting to give it justification. You're arguing for your limitations, and in your mind, you're seeing just this little line of dots that are connecting of what you think might happen, until you get to the point where you can't sleep at night, you're tense, and the fear starts really taking over because you can see where this could go, and it's taking over in your body. It could be fear, it could be depression, could be anger. And at that point, you just can't hold it in anymore, so the words are coming out of your mouth like, you know what, this company stinks. I hope they go under. They are so thoughtless. They're always doing this to people. Why is it that I have to suffer for what they're doing? I can't believe that I'm working this hard for a company that I don't even like. And you'll find that as you start talking like that, then your actions are something like, you know what, why am I even bothering to come in on time? I'll just come in a half an hour late. I'm not staying till 5. There's nothing to do. I'm going. And your actions become more and more in alignment with your words, your feelings, and your beliefs, to the point where the information that you're sending out, your resistance, your struggle against, is all broadcasting the message, I am not a match with this company. You see that? I am not a match with this company. And so why is it a big surprise when you've sent that message out and the law responds and says, yes, you are right. Here, let me show you. You're not a match with this company, and you find a pink slip on your desk as a result. So that's how this process of fear works. We are in charge of it. We can decide in consciousness how we're going to look at darkness, and most of us usually just succumb to it. And then we help it along, because once we get to the point of thoughts, feelings, and beliefs, the subconscious takes it from there and proves to us. So all the while, it's not a punishing God that's to blame for this. It's not some devil in the dark, some evil power at work. It has something to do, the fear that comes up in us and the results that follow have everything to do with what's going on in our consciousness, and most of us don't know our true self. We don't know who we are. We don't know our true spiritual power. And so if we keep our eyes on the appearance of what's happening outside of ourselves, then we're giving our power, that power of light, we're giving it over to the darkness of the boss or the company or the government or, the ex-spouse, you name it. And as we think and we talk and we believe and we feel out loud, you know what we're doing? We're gathering in a support system around us, by sharing this with others. And we create a collective consciousness. This is how a country gets to the state that it's in. It's because we keep sharing fearful thoughts and beliefs with others to the point where now there's a collective energy and it's responding in a collective way. Do you see that? Yeah, I know, this stinks, doesn't it? So again, it's not a personality, an evil personality that we can blame for this situation, and it's not some dark power out there that's got a purpose in mind to take us all down or to take me down. It's just a result of error thinking, and error thinking generates negative beliefs. It's made up of negative beliefs. And when we can resonate with that negative frequency, we can't access the light. We're at the wrong frequency. We're down here, and spirit and all our solutions and all the love we're seeking, all the power, all the abundance, all the life we're seeking is up here. But we've lowered ourselves down here into the darkness. We've gone down into the basement, and we refuse to even acknowledge that there's an upstairs up there that we can walk up to. So what is it? What are some of the main beliefs that we have talked ourselves into when it comes to fear? What kind of things do we support fear with? I'll give you an example. Okay, Jen?
We're separate.
We're separate. We're separate from what?
From spirit, from God, from source.
Yes. That's a very enlightened thought.
I learned from you.
Oh, okay. Most of us aren't conscious of that kind of thought. We have even lower thoughts that cause us to hang on to fear. I'm not enough. One of the two most common thoughts that generate fear. And what's the other one?
Giving up my power.
Giving up my power. It's them against us. Yes, Cindy.
Never care.
Say again.
They'll never care.
They won't care. But what about there's not enough? In one way or another, I think those are the two.
It's their fault.
Thing I can do about it, right? I'm powerless here. So I have no control over them. I don't know how. And the subconscious doesn't know the difference between right or wrong, truth or falsehood. I want you to hear that. Your subconscious doesn't know the difference between what is truth and what is error. It just knows that you've given it information that feels very strongly, one way or the other, good or bad, it doesn't matter. When it comes in with a feeling, it goes to work proving it right in your life. So, are we going to feed the subconscious that which we want or that which we don't want? Do we want to talk about darkness or do we want to be in the light? It only responds to what we've given it, and then it keeps responding, keeps reinforming the same thoughts and feelings and beliefs. So another thought from Charles Fillmore on the screen. Instead of pitying yourself and looking for pity from your friends, rise. I love that word, rise, in the majesty of your true self and cast off all the works of darkness. Your positive stand in truth will turn on the light and will dispel ignorance and its shadows, and you will be the light of your world. How do you get there? Rise in your thoughts, in your consciousness, to something that is based in truth. So remember, first you have to notice that you're even having a bad vibe. Remember how I said we get so caught up in it we don't even know that there's an option? So first we have to notice that there's a negative vibe going on and ask ourselves, what is that feeling? What is that feeling that feels off right now? So when you're in this situation of darkness, it's going to be something like fear, worry, anger, doubt. And once you can identify the emotion word, not like I want to run away, that's not a feeling. See if you can get to an actual emotion word, and then ask yourself, where is this coming from? Why do I feel this? and see if you can identify what you think the catalyst is. So it could be at that point, it's my boss's fault, it's the economy's fault, stock market's fault, it's my ex-spouse's fault, it's the government's fault. So I'm feeling anger or fear because of what the economy is doing right now. What's my belief about it? If it doesn't come back up, my retirement fund is going to go in the toilet. And then how am I going to be supported for the rest of my life? So we know what the feeling is, we know who to blame it on, and we know what the actual belief is about it. That stock market has power over my good. And then, here's the fun part. Is that the truth? We ask ourselves that. Is this the truth? And if you've been sitting here long enough, what's your answer? No. As a matter of fact, I would dare to say that whenever you have a feeling like you're in the darkness, or any emotion associated with that, I would consider that the reason for it is error. I don't imagine truth will ever lead you to this feeling of darkness, fear, worry, anger, negative emotions. So once you can identify that, then it's just about, okay, I'm going to turn away from that. I'm going to give myself a break from that today. I'm going to see how many minutes I can go without thinking about it, not by just turning away from it, but turning towards the light, turning towards that which is true and real in the Spirit of God and in your very essence. Turn upwards, rise up in your majesty to your higher frequency, to your spiritual self. And when you can live from that state of being for a while, you will start to see that now you're in alignment with your good, and it starts to flow in every area of your life. Doesn't that sound like something you want? Yes. So the truth is what will lead you out of the darkness into the light. Suzanne Giesman is an intuitive. She was here a couple months ago, and I heard her on a podcast recently. She said, up on the screen here, part of our task, she was talking about this field of darkness. She said, part of our task is to no longer contribute to that field, to burn our light so brightly that we actually dissolve that shadow field. How about that? Burn your light so brightly you dissolve that shadow field. Darkness doesn't have a power of its own. It's an absence of light. And I would say there's never an absence of light. There's only an absence of awareness of light, okay? So it's about, are you conscious of the light? If you're not conscious of the light, that's when you can feel like you're in darkness. Learn how to embody your soul, and your brighter light will eclipse the darkness. Affirm who you really are, the light of consciousness, wholeness in expression, and that dissolves fields of darkness. Does that not sound like everything we talk about around here? So when our soul came in for this fun journey here on planet Earth in this human body, we knew that we would probably bump into some darkness, some moments where we can't really see which way we're going. However, we also know that we never travel without our light. We've always got it with us because it's our very essence. We can't escape from our light, but we can forget that we are that light. And so when the darkness shows up, it might bring a feeling of pain, but if you're awake enough to your light, it should be a moment for you to not get stuck in the suffering. Do you know the difference between pain and suffering? Pain is like when you get stuck with a pin. Ow! Suffering is like, do you know what happened to me? I got stuck with a pin. Nobody cares. Nobody ever cares about my life. Nobody loves me. Do you see how we take that and just extend it and extend it and extend it? That's suffering. You have an option. You don't have to stay there. You can feel the pain, but then wake up. Move into the light. You can feel the fear, but not be paralyzed by it. Even if it's just taking one step in the direction of light. Even if it's just thinking the word God or source or creator, to raise your thoughts to that higher point of view. So rather than fear, our work is to remember who we are And some of our abilities when we're facing what feels like darkness is to create a way out of it. You've got the divine intelligence within you. There's a way to create beyond what you see with your senses and start being your true light. What if you could just find one divine idea that you could be for 5 minutes when you feel like you're in the dark and see if that won't lift you? Think of that spirit of you that's eternal and that's always in joy. I know that may be hard to get to when you're in the dark, but it's present in you. Can you just find one thing to be grateful for in the past, or choose to be grateful for something that's about to happen because you've decided it's about to happen? You can see that it's about to happen. Looking past the appearance of what's not working and know the truth. So, again, basic truths. God is my source. God is my source. Not my ex-spouse. Not my Social Security check. Not the government. God is my source. That should bring light when we remember. And that source is infinite, right? We should give ourselves an opportunity to remember that when it feels like someone is trying to take good from you, it's like, take away. There's more to be found. There's more good here. There's more good everywhere. I don't waste 1 minute in darkness because you appear to be ready to take my good from me, because there's more to be had. There's more to be had. There's an infinite more to be had. That's how you get into the light, is you keep reminding what's true about God and what's true about you. And when you finally get into that place where you feel like you are light and you are choosing to live in light, now you can come out and actually be light for others. You've been around someone who's light, haven't you? You know what that's like when you're in the presence of someone who feels like they're light? And doesn't it just kind of lift you up a little bit? Feels good to be around them? You can be that person. You can be that light for somebody else. And actually, one of the ways we can do that is to call it out in them. I really appreciate your ability to fill in the blank. You know, we've got plenty of critics in this world. Lots of judgment. But we have just as many opportunities to choose to appreciate someone and to call out their light, help them see it for themselves. So now they're walking around in light. And now the collective consciousness for our state, our country, our planet, the human race is light. Always available to us, always ready. Are you ready? Something that Karen Bell, she's a new intuitive I've just run into recently. She puts it this way up here on the screen. Recenter yourself as the witness or the observer. I want to point out that word because we use that a lot in unity. That is our spirit, the witness, the observer, which doesn't get caught up in the drama of life. While the ego is living in fear, the witness, your true spirit, is just, oh, isn't that interesting? Oh, yeah, I think I came here for this. Okay, this is, all right, what do I want to do with this? So recenter yourself as the witness, the observer, who is untouched by what's going on. Put your hand on your heart, reminding yourself, I'm safe. Why am I safe? Because there's only one power. Keep aligning with your higher frequency, your true self. Attune yourself to higher energy and what you desire to see in your life and the world. Anchor yourself in that as often as possible to be of service in the way you intended when you incarnated here. What if I came here to be a presence of light for others, to anchor in that divine love, that divine light? Over the next few weeks, I'm going to give you an opportunity to learn about various tools. I'll actually call them a wardrobe of light. We're going to be putting on a wardrobe of light. Feel free to wear sequins. Yeah, that actually would be kind of fun. I wonder if I have any. Okay. All right, just saying. So we're going to learn about the wardrobe that we came here with as spiritual beings of light that we can use when we find ourselves in darkness, so that by the time we're done, you're going to have answers to every problem that your ego drums up and wants to cry about. As fearful as it might appear, We're going to find ways to overcome it. Are you up for that? Okay. Let's take some time in meditation and see if we can't do that right now. The sign of a being of light is peace. So let's begin by assessing our vessel and just see if there's anything that could become more peaceful in us. You might want to scan your body. Notice any tension, any part of you, any resistance, discomfort, worry. Is it showing up as tension in my belly, shortness of breath, headache, eyebrows furrowed, jaw clenched? Just notice these different parts of the body where we tend to hold stress, and breathe peace into them. The peace of God is already here. My very essence is that divine light, shining uniquely as me, always bright, always eternally at peace. Breathe that peace into every muscle of your body. Releasing all tension. Turning thoughts inward to your heart. Imagine in that center where your heart is. This is where I live as love. Breathe into that heart. A stream of healing, lifting light. This is where I live as love. Allow your attention to drift upward to that spot between your eyebrows. Imagine a stream of light flowing through. This is where I see the truth. This is where I see the light. And know the wisdom. And now allow your thoughts to drift down into your belly. this is where I live in power. The power of divine light lives here in and as me. I am secure and stable. Light flows freely in me, here in my belly, rooting and grounding me down deep into the earth. All that I need is provided. I am balanced. I am strong and I am stable. I know this truth in body, in heart, in mind. I am light. All that I need is here, and I am at peace. God of glory, Lord of love, hearts unfold like flowers before you, opening to the light above. This is the truth of our being, and now we let it be. Amen.